The world is in a geopolitical turmoil. As the Russian invasion of Ukraine nears its second year, the United Nations Coordinator for the Middle East Peace Process, Tor Wennesland, has warned that new conflict in the Middle East may be reaching a boiling point. High levels of violence in the occupied West Bank and Israel in recent months, including attacks against Israel and Palestinian civilians, increased use of arms, and settler-related violence, have caused grave human suffering, he told a UN Security Council briefing after a sharp increase in attacks against Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. He urged a return to a political process for a two-state solution to the issue. The targeting of civilians can never be justified, and the violence must stop. The current trends bring neither stability nor security for anyone, he added. After the Security Council meeting, the Palestinian envoy to the UN, Riyad Mansour, called for the UN to step in to provide protection to the Palestinian civilian population. The Security Council, which is a mighty force, the most powerful force in the UN for the maintenance of international peace and security, to describe without acting is pathetic, he remarked. The warning comes after 3 Palestinians were killed by Israeli occupation forces, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health. One was killed in the southwest bank of Beit Unmar, and the other 2 siblings were killed in the village of Kfar Yan near Ramallah. Over the last few years, there has been an increase in Israeli raids on the occupied West Bank and violence carried out by settlers who have at times turned against Israeli forces. Over 130 Palestinians have been killed this year alone, along with at least 25 Israelis, making 2022 the deadliest year for Palestinians in the West Bank since 2005. Furthermore, the United Nations General Assembly has requested that the world body's highest court render a judgment on the legality of Israeli policy in the occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem. On Friday evening, the Assembly voted by a huge margin, but with only 50 countries abstaining, to refer one of the world's longest-running and most contentious disputes to the International Court of Justice, a proposal supported by the Palestinians and strongly opposed by Israel. While the court's decisions are not legally binding, it last addressed the dispute in 2004 when the Assembly requested that it investigate the legitimacy of an Israeli-built separation barrier. Palestinian Ambassador Riyad Mansour praised the countries who supported the bill. "We trust that regardless of your vote today, if you believe in international law and peace, you will uphold the opinion of the International Court of Justice when delivered," Mansour said, going on to urge countries to stand up to Israel's new hardline government. Israel did not speak at the Assembly, which met on the Jewish Sabbath and voted. In preparation, Ambassador Gilad Erdan called the proposal outrageous, the UN morally bankrupt and politicized, and any future court verdict completely illegitimate. During the 1967 Mideast War, Israel took the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and the Gaza Strip. The Palestinians want an independent state in all 3 areas. Israel regards the West Bank as a contested territory and has constructed dozens of settlements, which today house approximately 50,000 Jewish inhabitants. It has also annexed East Jerusalem and regards the entire city as its capital. An extra 200,000 Israelis live in East Jerusalem settlements that Israel regards to be neighborhoods of the capital. Palestinian residents experience systematic prejudice, making it impossible for them to build new homes or expand existing ones. The international community, by and large, regards the settlements as unlawful. Israel's annexation of East Jerusalem, which comprises the city's most sensitive sacred sites, is likewise not recognized internationally. In 2005, Israel withdrew from Gaza. 2 years later, Hamas militants took control of the territory from internationally recognized President Mahmoud Abbas' forces. The resolution passed on Friday requested that the International Court of Justice, sometimes known as the World Court, offer an advisory opinion on the legal implications. It also requested that the court investigate the legal ramifications of Israeli policies aimed at altering the demographic composition, character, and status of the holy city of Jerusalem. It also requests a view on how all Israeli policies affect the legal status of its occupation, as well as the legal consequences that arrive for all states and the United Nations as a result of this status. With 53 abstentions, the vote was 87 to 26. It came after the Assembly's Budget Committee approved the draft resolution on Friday and the Special Political and Decolonization Committee on November 11th. Israel conducted extensive behind-the-scenes lobbying against the legislation and chastised the Assembly for voting after the Sabbath began on Friday evening. According to an Israeli diplomatic official who spoke on the condition of anonymity because he was discussing private diplomatic efforts, outgoing Prime Minister Yair Lapid personally contacted about 60 world leaders ahead of the vote, while figurehead President Isaac Herzog spoke to many counterparts. The United Nations has a long history of passing resolutions critical of Israel, and both Israel and the United States accuse the world body of prejudice. Israel has accused the Palestinians, who enjoy non-member observer state status at the UN, of attempting to use the UN to bypass peace talks and impose a settlement. Palestinians claim that Israeli authorities, including incoming Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, are not serious about achieving peace, while continuing to build settlements on occupied territory. The most recent round of meaningful peace discussions ended in 2009. Prior to the committee vote on November 11th, Erdogan told UN ambassadors that passing the resolution would kill any hope for reconciliation with the Palestinians and prolong the conflict. He warned that inserting the court in a decades-old conflict solely to dictate one side's demands on the other ensures many more years of stagnation, and provides the Palestinians with the perfect excuse to continue boycotting the negotiating table in order to perpetuate the conflict. Mansour stated that the committee vote that our people are entitled to freedom, emphasizing that nothing justifies standing with Israeli occupation and annexation, its displacement and dispossession of our people. Before issuing its decision, the court is scheduled to seek input from dozens of countries. Israel has not stated whether it will participate. It is not the first time the International Court of Justice has been asked to weigh in on the conflict. The court ruled in 2004 that a separation barrier built by Israel was contrary to international law and ordered Israel to halt construction immediately. According to Israel, the barrier is a security mechanism designed to keep Palestinian attackers from reaching Israeli communities. Because of its course across East Jerusalem and parts of the West Bank, Palestinians claim the structure is an Israeli land grab. Israel has ignored the 2004 verdict, and the resolution passed on Friday demands that Israel comply with it, stop construction of the wall, and demolish it. It also demands that Israel compensate Palestinians for any damage caused by the wall's construction, which has gravely impacted their human rights and living situations. The call for an advisory opinion is part of a broader resolution titled Israeli Practices and Settlement Activities Affecting the Rights of Palestinians and Other Arabs in the Occupied Territories. Meanwhile, in a phone call greeting Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on return to his office, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi advised Israel's new hardline cabinet to refrain from any measures that can inflame regional tensions. The leaders met just days after Netanyahu's new cabinet was sworn in, promising in coalition guidelines to prioritize settlement expansion in the occupied West Bank. According to the Egyptian president's office, el-Sisi emphasized the necessity of avoiding any measures that could lead to a tense situation and more issues. El-Sisi also stated that his administration would continue its attempts to maintain calm between Israel and the Palestinians. According to Netanyahu's office, the two leaders discussed Egyptian-Israeli relations and emphasized the importance of promoting peace, stability, and security for the sake of both peoples and all peoples in the Middle East. In 1979, Egypt and Israel signed a historic peace treaty. Relations between the two countries have been generally cool, yet behind-the-scenes security collaboration remains strong. In recent years, there have been increasing indicators of overall cooperation. In 2021, then Prime Minister Naftali Bennett met with el-Sisi in the Egyptian resort of Sharm el-Sheikh in what was Israel's first official visit to Egypt in almost a decade. In addition, the two Middle Eastern countries reached a pact with the European Union in June to enhance liquefied natural gas shipments to European countries, reducing their reliance on Russian supplies in the midst of the Ukraine conflict. Egypt has also been a significant mediator between Israel and the Palestinian militant group Hamas for many years. Since Hamas took control of the Gaza Strip in 2007, the two sides have fought 4 battles. the most recent of which lasted 11 days in May 2021. Egypt has been secretly negotiating a long-term truce. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has returned to power for an unprecedented sixth term as Prime Minister of Israel, leading the country's most right-wing and religiously conservative government in its 74-year history. Expansion of Jewish settlements in the occupied West Bank could exacerbate already strained relations between Israel and the Palestinians, upsetting the international world.